So Nikki has gone through plenty of questions, and the big ones of the week was Seyfarth, Gilbert, and the like. And I want to get in and go through a bunch of teams. And if you want to see your team in this list, then you do need to be in the private group. These are all guys from the private group. The information is in the description on how to join that one. It's $35 to jump in for the whole season, which is super cheap, and you get all the help. You can do a little bit less research, given you've got everyone there you can ask questions about, which is awesome. I know people are strapped for time, and that's where you can pick and choose your videos you want to watch as well. We do have, I think, 8 teams to go through, and just some general thoughts heading into round 2. And obviously these videos are going to be a little bit more interesting as we go along, especially over the next few weeks when we have a bit more of a sample size and we can make some well-informed decisions, not just basing it off the 1 week or what we've seen in previous years. So our young man here has made the one trade so far, Metcalf to Humphries, which makes lots of sense. 144 in the bank. He's decided to hold Seyfarth over trading him to Horse. Still has 144 in the bank, so I can pivot next week if this goes south. Thoughts on this? If in my own team, I think Horse is really important, but I do agree in that sense that, Horse could come out and get a 53 and Seyfarth could get a 45 very, very easily. It could obviously go the other way again and Seyfarth goes low, but he averages high 40s. And having a guy like that in your side priced at 466 is pretty ideal. If you got a guy that can consistently get in the 40s, hit 40 odd tackles and have his base and exceed where he's priced at just in tackles alone. So I think that's cool. Some people will go, no, I'm just going to trade Seyfarth to Horse, and that's fine too. And obviously saving trades at certain points in a season is going to be helpful, whether that for you is in round 2 or whether it's in sort of round 6, 7, 8. You want to maybe save 1 or 2 because that's a time when we do get 3 trades available and people will start going nuts on those types of moves. So would I recommend another move in this side? Wing fullback is pretty set now. You've got Tamale as a bench guy, and I imagine we'll kind of work into that as well in this video, is setting up your bench in a way where there's going to be some 50-50 guys, and you do want to set it up a little bit more for some upside. I think basically safety is cool and all, but a lot of these guys have somewhat of a 20 floor. You see there, everyone in his side there, Sanders Smith, he had the 20 odd floor, obviously picked up the try and the try saver. Tamale's going to run for enough. Hubner's going to get somewhere near that 30 just with those decent minutes as well. And guys like Jackson Purdue will probably have that lowest floor there. You could look at guys like Rob Toya, Yongi. Yongi was in a pretty tough spot before his try. Toya, if he has a bad game against Panthers, he could go low. So there's different questions around those players, but I do think you probably want to go with the guy that you think can have that upside. And Toya's team got absolutely whacked. He picked up a 61 in that time. So it's great to see that he has that potential upside that some of these others may not. Tamale's coming up against the Broncos, and again, he has 49 without a try, which is awesome to see. So that's where you look at that and go, well, sweet, I could easily play him. Guys like Jack Cole, they could get into the mid-30s. They can get to the low 40s, but does he have 50 plus next to Cleary? Probably not. So that's where you could look at decisions like that for your own side. But yeah, I think that's pretty set, I reckon. That bench I'm pretty happy with. You could go like Jack Cole over Tamale or Hubner or something like that if you want, but I'd leave it at that, mate. It's a pretty easy squad to set up with that, and you had an 889, which is a pretty good start, and saving a trade and making that decision next week, I think will be just fine. Moving on to Brendo for the win. He wants to bring in Humphries. We'll have to make 2 trades. He's only 100% trade out is Tavanga. Trade I'm looking at is Tavanga and Cole out, Humphries and Toa in. Is there any other way to get Humphries in? Thanks. Yeah, that is really tough. Really, really tough. Okay. Do you want a double trade for Humphries? That's going to be the question. Jack Cole is probably not the guy to sell. Wow, that's where this. Okay, this is a good little example. This is where 0k in the bank on a week-to-week basis can really hurt you. He literally only needs 10k to get from Tavanga to Humphries and has 0 in the bank. So that's super tough. And yes, Tavanga would be the guy to sell. Is there anyone else in this team that you could likely sell? Well, White's got a 43. He's got plenty of money to make over the next few weeks. Seyfarth could be the guy that you do sell in this scenario, given he's unlikely to make a truckload of cash over the next few weeks. He started with Terrell May, Yo, and Couchman, which is good, and Gilbert. So he's got some wins there. Started with Munster. He's got that looping candidate this week. So it's definitely a situation where I think Savunga might have to stay for a week unless you're going to double trade in that one, and you could go like Seyfarth to Humphreys and gives you that 60k, and then Tavanga can go to someone as well, or he can go down to another cheapie that you want. You've obviously got Goz there, which is cool. You got Tamale, you got a few of those good options in Toya, Jack Cole, Sandon Smith. So yeah, there's probably one or two other cheapies you could drop down to for Jazz, or you could just hold that one there. So it's a pretty tough one to get Humphreys in unless you're trading out someone that you probably don't want to. And sometimes you're in a situation like this where you may need to have a trade like that, which can be frustrating, as I said, but might be necessary to get someone that I think is very much a must-have. You know, I said he was last week. He's made 53k and he's still in that territory. So yeah, you guys can decide on that one if that's going to be worth it for you. But I personally wouldn't trade Cole out just to do it. Maybe it's a single trade for Seyfarth and go from there. All right, Matty, JBFA FC. And if you do want to represent the JBFA family, if you watch these videos regularly, that would be really cool. Just pop it at the front of your name there with your name, whatever it is, just like mine, JBFA Jamie. All right, squad value 10.3, so really happy with that. Ranked 7,000, so picked up a 921 this week. Was a really good start. He's obviously made the one trade there, which is good. And the questions are, any other trades needed? Captaincy and VC choices. Yeah, you have to captain Cleary. Pong is a really good one, obviously, on Thursday night as well, tonight. Would you structure the bench any differently? Arthurs, Sandon Smith, Brimson, Mamazelis. I personally would go Yongi well over Arthurs, and I would also go Tom Duffy well over Sandon Smith. So that's personally how I'd do it. I'd go Brimson, Yongi, Duffy, and Mamazelis, and I'd probably even have Goz over Arthurs as well. They play a much tougher opponent this week in the Raiders. Defensively, I think they'll be pretty solid, and Arthurs is perennially a 30 guy. So yes, has some upside, but this was with a try, 2 line breaks, 2 try assists. It had everything in it, and I doubt that's going to continue happening this week. So personally, I would do that, but you have to decide yourself. Obviously, you liked Arthurs, and that's why you picked him in round 1. So you can definitely keep with that. You have Humphreys, you have Horsburgh. I think outside of that, there's no real clear guys that you need to 100% target this week. You've got Tamale. Watching how he goes. Could be a sell next week if no others. You got Mamazelis, yeah, Nafahu White, these kind of guys. On notice, they need to keep the cash moving. Cole, White, Duffy, Yongi, Mamazelis. You're tough, aren't you, Matty? These guys are all doing a great start, and a lot of them made 20-odd K. So yeah, he's a tough judge, and he wants to go really well. And that one trade there is Metcalf to Humphrey. So still picked up a 921 without the hump goat, or the goat freeze. I think goat freeze is better. So yeah, great stuff from Matty, and yeah, very harsh on your cash cows. But you haven't got anyone in there that's had an absolute shocker. So even at Arthur's come out and do well. No David Moale, you got Garrick in a good spot, man. Make the one trade, move on, do some good things. All right, New South Wales don't get Origin. Well, they did last year, mate. 10,000 overall rank, 912 for this fellow, 134k in the bank. Trades, Metcalf to Humphrey, locked in. White to Gilbert, ? No. With White being a potential sell next week with the return of Victor and Spencer, doesn't make sense to push a trade now from White to Gilbert before his price gets out of reach. Well, I don't think Gilbert's going to score 65 again. So if he goes back near the 50 mark, he'll go up for sure, but it won't be a crazy amount. And yes, he might get to 550, but White's going to go up another 25 or so K this week. You know, after a nice beginning, I think he's going to get a 45 or 50 this week. He's going to have more running meters in a game where, it could be a little bit more back and forth and they don't get pumped. Like, it's unlikely they have 50 put on him. And he only mainly scored in tackles last week. So if he can get more running, there's going to be the odd tackle break or offload, and he can score somewhere in that mid-40s again and make you 20-odd K. And I think Gilbert will probably make you the same this week. So not a big issue. I think saving the trade in this scenario is better than making that trade. With the change of buy round players needed in minor buys to 13, will we have the luxury of more trades to shift onto more aggressive cash makers early on? Yes, I think that is 100% the case. Or you can have a couple more gambles with pods in an attempt to shoot up the ranks. Look, at this stage, pods aren't incredibly great. I'd personally just go for as many of the best guys as possible, because there will be plenty of teams that don't have, the guys that flew last week. Tamale, the Horsburgh, the Hasses, the Yos. I was going to say Safer, Humphreys, Toya, Lucas, Ponga. Like, they're not going to have all of these guys, and they might have a mixture of some that did struggle and they aren't able to get all of those guys in that continue to do well. So I just try and catch all the best players possible rather than going for pods at this stage of the season, and look for some point of difference players, what that means to other coaches when you need to win a certain head-to-head matchup or something like that in a later time frame. All right, Griff's great. He just wanted to give me this team there. He's made the one trade. He's just looking at his second issue, and that second issue is having Nicho Hynes over Cleary. So he doesn't have Cleary at all. He's got Horsburgh and Hosking, which is good, and Humphreys in the side now. Tamale, Ponga, Yongi, a lot of good things. Hynes this week with a 41. Thankfully, he doesn't have Grant. He's got Watson instead, so that's awesome as well. The big thing with Hynes this week is I think he'll be sweet. Coming up into Cows, I expect him to score really well, but not having Cleary against the Roosters is a big, scary one. So this week, I think you have to deal with it. You do make the one trade that you've done, and you stick with it. But following that, next week and onwards, I think it's going to be hard to own Hynes, especially if he's not goal kicking. You see it this week. I think he scores well. Even if he doesn't have goal kicking, I think there's attacking stats in there against the Cows. New left side, I think he's going to dominate. But will he beat Cleary? And our unfortunate Griff's greats, number 2, he can't get from Hynes to Cleary in the one trade. So that's the frustrating part. Gonna have to deal with it this week. Thankfully picked up a 907 Griff's greats and should continue to do fairly well, especially if Hynes can have a good one this week. And then you'll have to make that decision the following week, in my opinion. So one trade this week, leave you a bit of cash in the bank and go for it from there next week. All right, we have a beautiful screenshot here. Thanks in advance for this one. Hopefully we can get a better screenshot next week. But a 934, and our best team so far did have Harry Grant as well without Watson. So to have Yo as captain, Horsburgh, May, Hosking already was awesome. We had Nafahu White in there who scored well. You had Humphrey. So he's got a lot of the guys. Ponga, Tamale, Lucas, Toya. A really good starting side. Had Munster as well. In this team, it doesn't look like there needs to be any trades. He is asking, though, around Harry Grant. He said he changed his mind last minute, and that would be the only one that he's a little bit worried about this week. And look, to be honest with that one, if it's something that you feel like you changed your mind last second for someone else's reason or whatever it else is, then I can understand you wanting just to trade back to Watson. It's one that I've mentioned this week, saying that you probably just want to stick solid with your decision if you made the Grant one. But if you are sitting there and you're hating owning him now, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have changed my mind, blah, blah, blah. If you're on Watson and changed to Grant, then I think changing back is fine. It's only one trade this week. You got a lot of the other stuff right, and you can rewrite that, that ship if you like on that one. All right. Thought this one was fun as well. So thank you for the lovely bold font and some big font out there. We have a 931 as well. So 4,328 overall, 24K in the bank. He's got a nice easy questions, a couple of trade questions there with Seyfarth and Metcalf to Watson and Riley Smith, or Barnett and Metcalf to Haas and a cheapie or hold. All right, well, that means he has Horsburgh. He has Humphreys already. He has Tom Starling, which is a fun one. So Barnett he's not too happy with at the moment, clearly. Metcalf's in there that could easily be sold. 24K in the bank. Doesn't leave him a lot of room to maneuver. Brimson's in the side, which is good as well. Would you start Stafford Toa or Rob Toya? I think personally I'm going to go for Rob, just for the fact that he has a 61 in him, and we don't know how Stafford's going to look. Like in the trial, I thought he was pretty solid defensively, but Rob Toya's been that as well and has a little bit more upside at the moment. So yes, it's against Penrith, but I feel like it's if he goes off, he's very highly owned, whereas if he doesn't go off, it's like, well, most people have him anyway, so it's fine. Those trades don't feel incredible to me. Watson and Riley Smith. I think Riley Smith you can buy, like he could just go back to 25 minutes. We don't know. He's going to have FOMO not owning Watson and or Haas. So that's where his thoughts are to get those guys. Barnett plus Metcalf to Haas and Cheapy, 314k in the bank. Wow, is it going to be that much? Can't be that much, can it? Metcalf's only 400. Worried about cash generation with Seyfarth and Metcalf. Could hold and reassess next week. I'd start Yongi personally. What do you got? Mamazelis in there on the bench. Yeah, I'd probably start Mamazelis for sure. I think it's hard to not start someone that's a 70-minute guy. Those trades, they do feel a bit gross, but again, it's up to you on these. If you really like one of them, sweet. The Barnett and Metcalf one, Seyfarth and Metcalf. I feel like you should hold Barnett, and if you really want Watson, then I can understand it. So maybe it's the first one if you are going for one of those two, but I think would hold at this point. Or if you're done with Metcalf, you could go down to a cheapie this week. But then again, if you're going to go down to one of the cheapies, then you're probably wanting to use the other cash to upgrade. But I don't really like Riley Smith as a now play. Next week might be better, but if you want to get ahead of the pack while he's still truly cheap, then that's fine as well on that one. All right, what do we got? Last one. Trash Gordon. 908 for him. A lot of these teams did really well. 5k in the bank, no trades made as yet. He has Humphreys already, which is good. We've got Hosking, we've got Horsburgh sitting there with Hopgood as well. That's going to be fun. Mamazelis will play for Grant. He's overall very happy. Probably won't make any trades this week, but I'm considering Grant to Watson. Not a logical trade. Oh, actually, this was the one he said went against my gut. Not going Watson. I want to try and stay aggressive. My squad value 10.26 million. There you go. So I read it on one of them. Sorry for was it the grades? If you are happy with Grant, stick with him. In this scenario, it's similar. You've scored well to start. You have the big dogs that I'm talking about. And if you want to make the one trade, Grant to Watson, I do understand. You've got Greg, Marzu, you've got Tamale, Yongi, these kind of guys in good positions. Campbell, you held through last week. All that is awesome. And if you just want to make the one and correct that heading into round 2, that's completely fine. He's got Tom Gilbert as well. So lots of good stuff there. Hopgood for next week. It's an easy one trade if you want to. You've got Campbell to cover half. You've got Campbell to cover wing fullback. All those good things. You can hold Metcalf for 1 week. Decide on him following that. He might go to a cheapie or something like that next week if it doesn't work out. And you can leave yourself in a good position. So there you go, guys. 8 teams. Short and sweet. Kind of got my thoughts on the bench as well. It's not going to be super easy. You are taking a guess, but think about who you look at and go, they probably have the highest upside. They may have a 20 floor or something like that this week, or think it might be 30 and with potential for 50 plus. And that's great. That's Tom Duffy and these types of guys. Mamazelis, if he gets some running, if Duffy gets some assists or something like that, then that'll work out well. So there you go, guys. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much for being here. And we'll catch you in the next one with my trades.